Hi, welcome to my channel and to my Hack and Mod show. Today's guest is the GSG-16. Almost everything about the design of this gun seems to bother me. And actually it's not their fault. It's because they lost a 10-year-long litigation to H&K. H&K sued them for dress infringement because they authorized another company to make them in 22 LR. I don't need to go into that because I covered that in another video called Unboxing Combo, which I will put a link in the description below for you if you're interested. Luckily, the bones of this hasn't changed. 2 years ago, I could buy a 522 conversion kit for $30 US and some airsoft furniture and make those changes. But since then, those kits have become scarce and now selling for like $150. And the prices of those airsoft are starting to climb because of the pandemic. Oh, and talk about shipping costs. They just skyrocketed. Therefore, not everybody can afford to make those changes. So today I'm going to show you how to make some of those changes at no cost. I am back. Luckily for me, I have spare parts of this gun that I need to modify, so I don't need to actually take it off the gun at this moment, but I will to put them on the charging tube, the handguard, the grip, and the stock. With the charging tube, I would never use this rail, so therefore I don't need these screw sockets and the rail retainer. I think it looks better without them. With the handguard, same thing. It has Mlok, so I don't really need these rails. So I would be removing these screw sockets. I might leave these on just in case I use SD handguard. With the grip, these finger grooves, they gotta go. So I'll straighten them out, flatten them out. It'll look better without them. And with the stock, I think the lock is in the wrong position. It should be in the bottom, so I'll show you how to do that. And I'll get rid of this ugly ski boot shape stock, and I'll modify that so it'll look a little bit nicer. Okay. Now, if you want to know how to remove these off the gun, I will put a link in the description. It's of how to do that. Okay, it's my full Monty disassembly video. So I'll be back. To modify the charging tube, get yourself a razor blade. Make sure it's brand new, and it's very simple. Make sure you make it as in line with the flat position, and just go straight like this. Okay, don't go off in an angle, and you just make sure you're pointing the blade away from you and not towards you. Okay, so that's how you do it, just little by little, just like that. Now make sure like that. Okay, just slowly go through that, and also with the screw socket, just make sure it's here. I'm gonna have to put on a piece of wood so you don't so you cut it like that. Like that. Okay, so I'll just have to make sure I do the rest. Okay, now that's the same for the handguard. These screw sockets gotta go. Okay, the actual screw that screws onto the gun is this socket right here, this hole, and this hole. So these ones on the sides has to go. So it's the same thing. You just use a sharp razor blade. Make sure you're not pointing towards you, and just go like this. Yeah, I might need to file it later, like that. Okay, so keep doing that to these screw sockets, and then you're done with that. Alright, now let's move on to the next is the grip. I use this Dremel bit to remove the finger groove that's on the grip here and here. It removes a lot of material, Then after that, I switched this out to a Dremel drum sander, rough, and I got that even closer to where I wanted it to be. And then I might even switch over to a fine drum sander. Then after that, actually here is where I just used this. I got this this finger groove down further, and I haven't used a drum sander on it yet, but this too I have. And then what I did is use a hand file and made sure it's flattened and in line with the surface of the rest of the grip. And then to get it even finer, I use a wooden block with a 600 or 400 grit paper, and I sanded it even nice, and it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to do this next, and then I'm going to do this part next. Now I already started on the upper part of the grip. As you can see, there used to be a whole bunch of these raised area, which I don't like the looks of it. I think they just put that in because of H&K wanted something not similar to their grip. So I just use a razor blade and I start gently starting to remove all those plastic lines. Okay, the three that was here, the three lines that was here, the three lines that's back here, and then there's a half moon line over here. I removed that with the razor blade. The only raised part I did not remove is these selector stoppers. Don't remove them. Leave them there. The F and the S is sunk in, so there's no raised part there. Don't remove the red dot and the white dot. So basically anything that's raised except for these two stoppers, you can just remove them. Okay, just with the razor blade for now. And then use a block with a 400 grit and start sanding this lower. I can still feel some bumps on that. As you can see, I've started on this. I haven't done it here yet, but you can see these are the three lines that needs to be removed. These are the three lines that needs to be removed. These two stoppers you do not, and all this tiny raised area, thin line that can be removed. Don't remove the red dot and the white dot, and the F and the S, they're sunken so you can't remove them. So that's what you do with the grip. With the stock, I'm going to show you how to disassemble this piece right here, the back cover. So let's remove all that. Let's put this all aside. Okay, you need a star shape screw, and you need to remove these two screws that's inside. Okay, and just put that in. Okay, so both of these screws comes off. And that's what they look like right there. Okay, and the next thing you do is put your finger in there and have it pull the thing all the way back, and then you should be able to remove that plate now that the screw is removed. Okay, so go like that, and it should come out easily. Yep. And you have to rotate it a bit. So there it is. This is what it looks like. Okay. This little slice corner goes to the upper left. Okay. So this what it looks like right there. Okay, upper left. Okay, now I have to release that. Okay. Now I'm going to use a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm going to remove the center screw right here. Now at the same time, put your finger behind here because it's going to jump out. Okay, like put your finger here and hold this piece right here. And there is a locking washer with it. Okay, Phillips, put that here. Okay, now remember I have my finger here. Now I can easily remove this. You heard a snap. You can actually now remove the stock completely out. Okay, so just take the stock out and release the lever. Okay, it's going to start to go. And now you can separate them. There's a spring in here. Okay, let me show you what it looks like first. Okay, that's what the spring looks like. And this spring has two tails, one over here and one over on this side on both ends, and they're both identical, so it doesn't matter which way you put it back in. Okay, so this is the lever. Okay, once you remove the lever, this locking plate comes off. Okay, it's in here. This locking plate is what goes into these grooves. Okay, so if you can imagine, this is what it looks like. It goes into these grooves like that, and that's how it locks it in place. Okay, so it rotates. Okay, so basically these are the pieces, and these are how you disassemble the stock. Now I'm going to show you how to modify this so you would have this lever not on the upside but on the downside. Okay, you have to modify this a bit, and you have to remove some pieces. So I'll be back once I have everything set up. Okay, I have another back cap. Just ignore the electrical tape, and I want to compare the before and after. Before, this spring stops, catches on to this little plastic raised area. Okay, so it basically sits like this. Okay, and it hooks on to the side of that plastic like that. Okay, and what we need to do is remove that plastic and put something on the other side, in this case over here. Now drill a hole. I'll put the measuring by text in the video, and it's about 3 millimeters from the edge, from there to the center of the hole. Okay, so I don't need this now. That piece will be cut off as shown over here. It's been removed, and I drilled that hole. It's a 3/32 hole, and actually I don't need the stock. I'll just move that out of here. So you get a pretty thin screws. Okay, a screw actually, all you need is one, but I have two, is because I want to show you what it looks like before. It's about 1/2 inch long, and I had to remove the tip because you don't want the tip too long, and it goes in the hole, and you don't want it to protrude on the inside. Okay, so this is what it'll look like. I'll put that over there. So basically, you're just screwing the screw into the hole. Okay, and of course the hole is smaller than the screw. Don't make it too small. And here it's starting to come out, And now I just got to go a little bit more. I still got about 1 millimeter to be flush with the inside. Yep. Don't know if you can see it, but it did come through. Okay, I think this is far enough. I want to go. And now I'm going to use the Dremel and cut that off. Of course, it's going to be the same height as this. And this looks to be about maybe the height of this looks to be about 2.5 millimeter. So I'm going to have to cut this head of the screw off at about 2.5 millimeter. Okay, I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'm going to assemble this together with the stock. I'll be back. Okay, I put the screw in, I remove the head, and what it should stick out is about 3 millimeter. Okay, so that's what it is. Remember, it used to be a plastic stud on the, I guess it would be, if you're looking at it, it will be on the right side, and now I'm looking at it and it's on the left side. Okay, so you also need to do another thing to the lever. Okay, you can see the shape of the lever is slightly different. You would have to use a drum sander and make a deeper curve here. Alright, take a close look. And the reason why it needs to be that, because it needs to clear the bottom. This is in an angler, but this is round, so it has to be like, it has to clear that area. Okay, so those are the two things you need to do. Now I'm going to show you how to reassemble. Just take that and pop that into the lever. Doesn't matter which end goes in. Okay, now take that, stick that in to the back. Now you have to turn. Till you feel some resistance, and then you have to go a little bit further, and then you have to hold on to it. Okay, you see it wants to counterclockwise, as you can see. So I'm just gonna hold it back till I'm at this position. Make sure you push this in. Now I'm gonna screw this in to the back. Okay, I put that plate in there and start turning till it fits. I can see this is the position. Okay, now I'm going to screw this in. That's the center screw. And I'll have a Phillips, and I'll tighten it. Don't forget to put the lock-in washer that's in there. Okay, good. I can feel that screw stud I put in. Seem to be working good. Okay, I'm going to have to tighten this a little bit more. Alright. Okay, see that? It's good. Now, push it all the way to, if you're looking at it, to the left side. Okay, so like this, and hold on to that position. Because now you need to stick the stock in. Hold it. Hold it, and now you can let it go. Okay, now you have to put these locking plates in. And remember I said there's a little cut on the top? That goes to the, if I'm looking at it through the hole, it goes to the top left. Okay, so like that, top left. Don't know if you can see it, probably not. Anyway, it goes in the top left, and you move, you go to the top left, and this has to be lined up, these holes has to be lined up with the locking plate that's in there. Okay, so you put it in there, and you move the stock back enough that it will lock in place, and it does right there. Now you take these screws and put them in. There's one at the bottom and one goes in the top. I am done with the stock, and what I did is this is what it looks like originally. I move the retractable lock from the up position to the down position, and this is how it works. Okay, so it works great. Right, the next thing I did is remove this rail up here. It seemed to hit my face all the time, uncomfortable, and I basically just used the Dremel, this cutter, and remove the bulk of it, and then I use a drum sander to smoothen it out. Okay, and I really don't understand what that rail is for. Some people say it's for the cheek rest, but it makes no sense for a cheek rest, because if you had a cheek rest, it would stick out of here, and every time you retract it, you have to remove the cheek rest. The next thing I did is I just can't stand the idea of a mag holder down at the buttstock, especially when it's vertical. And the only lock for it is a plastic little tab inside. Yeah, that's just asking for trouble. So I removed this piece right here, okay, completely off, and this is what it looks like, remaining piece. And also the butt plate is so huge for a 22. I have just no idea. Compare that to the SKS butt plate. It's about, I don't know, about 1.25 inches longer. Like, what for? I have no idea why it's so long. So it took off about, yeah, it took off about 1 inch from the bottom. Okay, took off about 1 inch, and when I took off about 1 inch, these two pieces, the butt plates, start to separate. So I held it together by a screw that went all the way through, and then it locks onto a swivel. So I got a swivel, hidden swivel back here. Okay, so that's what I did. And next time, if I were to do this again, I would basically make this not so sharp. This is at 90 degrees. I would make this curve a bit to match this corner and to match that corner. Right now it's kind of a too sharp right angle, and I would have made a little curve down here, but otherwise this is what I planned. This is what I wanted. So I'm done with the stock, and next time I come back I will have all these pieces all finished and put on the rifle. I am done. Those 4 pieces that I modified is now on the rifle, and I'll start off with the charging tube. As you recall, I removed the rail, never gonna use it, and so therefore I don't need those screw sockets. They're gonna be lopped off, and because the rail is gone, I also removed the rail retainer on either side of the charging tube, as you can see. And when I did that, it made the front sight ears taller, much like the GSG-522. That's the kind of look I was looking for. So that's good. Next was the handguard. Again, I don't like those rails that was on here. There's 3 of them. I got rid of them. So therefore, I don't need the socket screw on right side and on the left side. They just been cut off with the razor blade and lightly sanded. Now I left the one at the bottom because I do have an SD handguard, so I'll need those. So therefore I don't want to cut that off. Okay, the third thing I modified is the grip. Now this requires a little more work. These two are actually pretty simple. This one requires me to use a Dremel cutter first, and then I use a drum sander coarse, and then a Dremel fine sander, and then I use the hand file next, and then I use a buffing machine, not a buffing machine, a sanding machine, and then after that I did use a buffing machine. So there's a lot of steps in doing this part. Got rid of the groove, finger groove that was right here, and right there, and the one right beside the trigger guard. Got rid of that. I got rid of all those lines that was on the upper grip. Okay, so I think it looks much better like the MP5. Okay, the fourth thing that I modified is the stock. I move the locking lever from the top to the bottom, as you can see, right, and it operates just great. It works just great, wonderful. And also, I could never understand the radio over here, so I just cut it off with this cutter, and then I used the drum sander, and then hand filed it, and then used a 400 grit paper and smoothen it out. I think that looks pretty darn good. Now that ugly shape, ski boot shape of a butt plate, hated that. Don't like the idea of putting the mag in there, so that got cut off. This is the style I chose, and I also shortened the butt plate by 1 inch. It's a 22. You don't need such a big butt plate, so that's got lopped off. And then I put a sling inside for the swivel. Put the swivel inside for the sling, and if I ever, the front one will be, of course, an Mlok type. So there you go. Everything looks just wonderful. Now, if you notice, there is a little red tint to it, and that is only because it came from the buffing. Okay, that red buffing. That's, in terms of finishing, that's all I did. I just buffed it after I used a 400 grit paper, and then I just oiled it, and that's all it is. There's no paint on this, there's nothing else. That's the way it looks. So this is how you do a Hack&Mod cheap modification, change the ugly look that was there before, and at no cost. It didn't cost me anything. So thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.